And by the way, JD Vance, do you understand why there was a sudden job opening for running mate on the GOP ticket? They tried to kill your predecessor.
Welcome back to the DeVory Darkins Show. In this video, we're going to see a great example on why former President Trump chose JD Vance as his running mate, as he goes on to CNN with Jake Tapper and absolutely dismantles his critics and his detractors, especially these Democratic puppets who went on the DNC stage and criticized JD Vance. And I believe this video is a great representation of the contrast between the two parties. One party is focused on facts, and the other party is focused on feelings.
And by the way, JD Vance, do you understand why there was a sudden job opening for running mate on the GOP ticket? They tried to kill your predecessor.
Do you have any reservations at all taking the ticket, taking the opportunity to serve as a vice presidential nominee, given what happened to Vice President Pence on January 6th?
No, not at all, Jake. And look, I can't help but laugh at what Jamie Raskin said. These are people who somehow always make themselves the victims. Jamie Raskin should be much more worried about the fact that there are a lot of Americans that can't afford to buy groceries, that can't afford to put their children in a nice home because of the policies that he has implemented and he has voted for. I just don't understand a person in American politics in 2024 who's whining about what happened to them instead of using their leadership and using their influence to make the lives of American citizens better. I have no reservations about taking this job because I know that if we make Donald J. Trump president of the United States, he's going to deliver rising wages, lower prices, and a secure border. That is all worth it for me, whatever the media or Jamie Raskin says about me.
I mean, that is a professional response, right? I mean, that's what we want to hear. And that's why he's the running mate for President Trump. Listen, these Democrats, they don't have anything except feelings. So they're going to attack the character. They're going to call Trump names, but they're not going to talk about what JD Vance is talking about. People are hurting. Prices are high. And here's what we plan to do about it. And you have to admit, I mean, this is the way that politics used to be before Trump came along, where they were just always on message. So that's why I think it's a great balance. But check this one out.
When I deployed to Afghanistan, I didn't have kids then. Many of the men and women who went outside the wire with me didn't have kids either. But let me tell you, our commitment to the future of this country was pretty damn physical.
What's your response?
Well, my response, Jake, is that Pete Buttigieg has taken a sarcastic remark that I made 3 years ago and turned it into something to distract from the fact that his leadership has seen higher transportation costs, higher fuel costs, and higher food prices for American citizens all over our country. These guys act so focused on a sarcastic quip that I made that they ignore the fact that under Kamala Harris's leadership, Americans can't afford the basic necessities of a good life in this country. And so I appreciate that Pete Buttigieg pretends to be offended by what I said. I think Pete should be offended by the fact that under his leadership as Secretary of Transportation, the government took in $8 billion to build 7 electric vehicle charging facilities at a time when Americans are paying 45% more for the gas that transports them to work. That's what we should be focused on, and that's what we should be talking about. And it illustrates, Jake, my entire criticism of the Democratic approach here is they're focused on fake issues instead of the real record. And the real record is that Kamala Harris has made this country poorer. Donald Trump made the middle class richer, and he caused a lot of peace and prosperity to break out in this country and all over the world. It's a very simple contrast, and I wish the Democrats would focus on the issues.
I mean, mic drop, right? The $8 billion to only produce 8 electric vehicle charging stations. Now, understand something. This is why they hate Elon Musk, by the way, because Elon Musk is moving at a speed that the government will never do. And this is why the government continues to depend on SpaceX, by the way, when it comes to their missions into space. I'm talking about NASA. But anyways, Think about how many charging stations Elon Musk has built with Tesla versus the amount of charging stations the government has built. But we've used $8 billion of taxpayer money. Make that make sense. So he's dead on about that. That's number one. Number two, his remark, and he's talking about how a lot of people in the government, they don't have kids. And, this is the problem with people on the left is they don't know what sarcasm is. They don't know what humor is. They don't know when someone's joking or just trying to push buttons, because that's what Donald Trump does all day, right? He is an ultimate troller. He very sarcastic, cracks jokes all the time, and they take every little word seriously. So, his cat lady comment, the media loves to hold on to it because it's something that they can use to diminish the overall ticket with Trump and JD Vance. But it just doesn't work because the facts are the facts. And that is, a lot of people in government, they don't have kids. And when you do have kids, you have a different perspective on life. And I don't even believe it's something you could truly explain to someone who doesn't have kids. You only understand it once you do have kids. So it doesn't mean that people who choose not to have kids, there's something wrong with them. What it's saying is, if you have kids, your perspective, your purpose, your vision about America is different, and that is valuable.
Before you go, quickly, if you could, CNN's reporting that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is expected to suspend his presidential campaign on Friday. It's been reported that he's considering endorsing Donald Trump, especially if he gets made Secretary of Health and Human Services or such. Have the two men been talking? Do you expect an endorsement? How much might it help?
So I don't talk to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Jake. I certainly listen to what he says, and I do think that he is a guy who recognizes that the Kennedy Democrats of old have been replaced by the Kamala Harris Democrats who support high inflation and open borders. So I'm not surprised that he feels left behind by the Democratic Party. I think a lot of Democrats, a lot of people like my grandparents feel left behind by the Democratic Party. I would certainly welcome his endorsement of Donald Trump. I've seen the same reports you mentioned. I don't know if it's actually going to happen, but I certainly hope it does, because I do think it would be helpful, because it drives home this idea that the Democratic Party of John F. Kennedy, it's just not the Democratic Party of 2024. Let's get back to common sense. And unfortunately, the only American leader running on common sense right now at a national level is Donald Trump.
Senator JD Vance of Ohio, thanks so much. Safe travels, sir.
Good night, Jake. Thanks.
Dana Bash, Abby Phillip, I will say, whatever one thinks about Senator Vance, he is much more on message and has much more discipline than that other guy on that ticket.
The other guy, you mean the former president? Yeah, just so disrespectful, right? So, yeah, I mean, this is why JD Vance was chosen. And again, great pick. I think he's doing everything you would want in a vice president to do. I believe he's outshining Tim Walz. Tim Walz is just really being carried by the media and the propaganda machine. If it wasn't for that, he'd really be getting eaten up because he lied about his military service record. We know this. His policies have absolutely eroded Minnesota. They are not a state that people are moving to. It's a state that people are moving away from. And these are the facts. So, as I wrap up this video, it's interesting to see these interviews, and a lot of people did not like the fact that Jake Tapper was not pushing back on JD Vance's comments, that he was just letting him go on and on. And I believe this is the way the media should be. Just ask a question, shut up, and then let the person answer. It doesn't matter if it's false. Let people think for themselves. Let people hear what the person has to say, and they can take it from there. But that's my mindset. What about you? What do you guys think about JD Vance's responses? He was absolutely cooking, and I think, just really embarrassed Pete and Tim Walz and all these other haters that don't like him, because he is a person who came from nothing and became something. And he represents what's possible in America, and he absolutely puts a hole in the logic of Democrats. So, they're going to do whatever they can to tear him down. And so I want to hear from you guys. Thank you for checking out the video today. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Stay grateful, stay focused, and stay true. Peace.